Brain death represents a complex medical condition where a person is technically dead despite maintaining basic physiological functions. Unlike a coma, brain death means complete and irreversible loss of brain function, including the brainstem. Patients declared brain dead have no cognitive activity and no possibility of recovery. Their hearts can continue beating, organs remain functional, and skin might appear warm, creating a profoundly unsettling scenario where a body seems alive but is medically deceased. Medical protocols for determining brain death are incredibly rigorous, involving comprehensive tests to confirm zero brain activity. Forensic entomology transforms tiny insects into crucial crime-solving tools. Scientists can determine the exact time and circumstances of a murder by studying the life cycle of maggots and beetles found on a corpse. Different insect species arrive at a decomposing body in a predictable sequence. Blowflies typically come first, laying eggs within minutes of death. By measuring the size and stage of larvae, forensic entomologists can pinpoint the time of death, sometimes within hours of accuracy. In one remarkable case, insect evidence helped convict a murderer who falsely claimed the time of his wife's death. Amanita phalloides, the deathcap mushroom, represents nature's most efficient botanical killer. Indistinguishable from edible fungi, it contains amatoxins that systematically shut down liver and kidney functions within days. Initial symptoms like nausea and cramps mask its true lethality. Without a liver transplant, consumption is nearly always fatal. A 2006 incident where a California family nearly died after accidental consumption underscores its dangerous potential. On the Galapagos Islands, a unique finch species has evolved a gruesome survival strategy, periodically pecking and drinking the blood of larger seabirds. During extreme droughts when seeds and insects become scarce, these birds target boobies, precisely piercing their skin. Remarkably, the victims seem to tolerate this behavior, potentially viewing it as a form of grooming. This extraordinary adaptation exemplifies Charles Darwin's theories of survival and environmental pressures. The legend of Tutankhamun's curse emerged after Howard Carter's 1922 tomb expedition. Lord Carnarvon's death months later from an infected mosquito bite sparked sensationalist media narratives about tomb toxins or ancient magical retribution. 11 deaths were attributed to the curse over a decade. Scientific analysis definitively debunked these claims, showing most individuals lived long lives. Yet the myth persists, revealing humanity's enduring fascination with supernatural explanations. Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish, defies conventional biological aging through a process called transdifferentiation. After maturing, it can revert to a juvenile polyp stage when stressed, essentially resetting its biological clock. While not truly invincible, it can still die from disease or predation. It effectively cheats traditional mortality. Scientists study this tiny marine organism, hoping to unlock regenerative secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of cellular aging and potential human medical interventions. On November 1, 1755, Lisbon, Portugal experienced a devastating 8.5 magnitude earthquake followed by a tsunami and widespread fires. Striking during All Saints' Day, the disaster caught thousands in collapsing churches. 40-foot waves drowned survivors, while fires raged for days. Estimates suggest 30,000 to 60,000 deaths, with aftershocks felt across Europe. The event profoundly challenged Enlightenment philosophical thinking, particularly among intellectuals like Voltaire. The Amorphophallus titanum, or corpse flower, offers a remarkable example of evolutionary adaptation. Native to Sumatra, it blooms rarely, just 24 to 48 hours every few years, releasing a potent rotting flesh odor detectable half a mile away. Growing up to 10 feet tall, it uses sulfur compounds to attract flies and beetles for pollination. Its reddish hue mimics meat, effectively tricking insects into spreading its pollen. Ancient Mexican death whistles, crafted from clay, produce a bone-chilling human scream when blown. Typically found in graves alongside skeletons, these artifacts were likely used in ritualistic contexts honoring Mictlantecuhtli, the death god, or as psychological warfare tools. The whistle's design channels air through skull-shaped chambers, creating an unnervingly loud piercing sound capable of echoing across battlefields. In the Czech Republic, the Sedlec ossuary transforms 40,000 human remains into a hauntingly beautiful memorial. In 1870, woodcarver František Rint crafted intricate artwork from bones, creating chandeliers, garlands, and a coat of arms. What might seem grotesque is actually a reverential tribute, turning human remains into a powerful artistic statement about mortality. Skulls line the walls, with sculptural details like a crow pecking at a skull. The 14th century Black Death decimated Europe, killing up to 50 million people through a bacterial onslaught carried by rat-borne fleas. Mass graves like London's East Smithfield pit became testament to the plague's brutality. Some towns lost 80% of their population, creating eerie ghost villages and dramatically restructuring societal dynamics. The pandemic's aftermath paradoxically improved survivors' economic conditions, ultimately contributing to the decline of feudalism and demonstrating how a microscopic organism could fundamentally reshape human civilization. In December 1952, London suffocated under a deadly fog combining coal smoke and atmospheric conditions. For 5 days, visibility dropped to mere feet, trapping toxic sulfur dioxide and particulates. The environmental disaster killed an estimated 12,000 people, overwhelming hospitals and exhausting undertakers' resources. This silent killer exposed the severe consequences of unchecked industrial pollution, ultimately catalyzing the Clean Air Act of 1956. Contrary to Hollywood depictions, human exposure to space's vacuum follows a surreal, silent progression. Consciousness is lost within 15 seconds as oxygen evacuates the lungs. The body doesn't explode but swells to double its size through embolism as bodily fluids vaporize. Skin pressure prevents blood from boiling, but rapid decompression causes severe trauma. Death occurs within minutes through oxygen deprivation. This scientific reality dismantles dramatic myths. Thanatophobia transcends typical death anxiety, representing an intense, life-disrupting phobia focused on the process of dying. Sufferers fixate on potential pain, loss of control, and existential unknowns, often avoiding situations that trigger mortality thoughts. This psychological condition can trigger severe panic attacks and is closely linked to broader anxiety disorders. While some cases emerge from personal trauma, others stem from deep existential dread. The April 26, 1986 Chernobyl nuclear plant explosion released a catastrophic radioactive cloud across Europe, fundamentally altering our understanding of technological risk. A failed safety test blew the reactor's lid, immediately killing over 30 workers and eventually causing thousands of cancer deaths. The nearby town of Pripyat became a haunting ghost city, abandoned and frozen in time. Today, a 1,000 square mile exclusion zone remains uninhabitable for centuries. With an eerie twist, wildlife paradoxically thrives amid the radioactive ruins. The Goliath bird-eater, a South American tarantula, epitomizes arachnid horror with its massive 11-inch leg span and inch-long fangs. Weighing up to 6 ounces, it's the world's heaviest spider, capable of piercing human skin with a bite comparable to a wasp sting. Its hunting strategy involves paralyzing prey with venom, targeting birds, rodents, and insects. Beyond its bite, the spider can defensively flick barbed hairs that irritate eyes and skin. Named after a 19th century engraving depicting it consuming a hummingbird, the Goliath bird-eater embodies the raw, unnerving predatory power of rainforest ecosystems. In Indonesia's Toraja region, the Manini festival transforms death from a final separation into a continuous familial bond. Every few years, families exhume their deceased loved ones, carefully cleaning and redressing mummified bodies preserved with herbs or formalin. These ancestors are then paraded through the village, positioned in lifelike poses, photographed, and momentarily reintegrated into daily existence. What might seem macabre to outsiders is a profound spiritual practice for the Toraja, who believe the spirits of the deceased continue to bless and interact with the living. The 1883 Krakatoa eruption in Indonesia represents the loudest sound in recorded history, audible 3,000 miles away in Australia. The volcanic explosion was so powerful it ruptured eardrums 40 miles from its epicenter and generated tsunamis that claimed over 36,000 lives. Ash from the eruption soared into the stratosphere, cooling the planet by 1.2 degrees Celsius and creating spectacular atmospheric effects that inspired artists like Edvard Munch. The volcano's destruction was total, obliterating most of the island and leaving only a submerged crater. Remarkably, the sound waves circled the globe multiple times. A genetic mutation in the LMNA gene triggers Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome, causing children to age at an unprecedented rate. By age 2, patients develop symptoms like premature hair loss and joint stiffness. Their bodies rapidly deteriorate, with most children experiencing severe cardiovascular complications typical of elderly individuals before reaching their teenage years. Despite physical frailty, patients often maintain sharp mental faculties and spirited personalities. Farnesyltransferase inhibitors offer a glimmer of hope, potentially slowing the syndrome's progression.